Okay, well, welcome to a new update on Archmage Rises, the greatest role-playing game ever made. Because if it isn't, I'm wasting my time, and you're wasting your time watching this update. That's right. Are you ready, Nick?
I'm ready.
All right. This has been an excellent week. We've gotten so much done. We have tons and stuff to show you. We're actually going to show you gameplay in a little bit. First, I'm going to give you an update on how we're doing on our schedule. Last week, we announced our release date, and that is January 24th of 2018. Sorry, that's not a release date. That's just feature complete date. And ironically, this week past, Pillars of Eternity also announced their date. And I find it very telling that they waited for us to put our date before they chose to put their date. You know what that means? That means Obsidian's scared. They're scared of what's going on here, Nick. Actually, we like you guys at Obsidian, and we know that some of you are following us, so hello! And we're looking forward to your release. I haven't had a chance to play Tyranny yet, because I'm so busy working on Archmage Rises, and so is Nick. He never gets to play... What is that game you always used to play?
Awesome Knots.
Awesome Knots. You don't get to play Awesome Knots anymore because you're working all the time. So, yeah, we are going to show you the new trade interface. We're going to show you new trade and economy simulation, and we're going to give you an update, and then we'll get to the fan feedback. Before we do that, I want to just briefly share some of our update. And in my past, I started a software company, and that was 13 years ago. And part of starting that software company, it's kind of a weird situation when you have to program for food. Right? Like if you don't make awesome software for the customer, they don't pay you and you don't eat. And I started with no employees. It was just me, and then I added one, and then I added another one, and that was super scary when I went to 3 people instead of just 2. And then eventually we got up to 10 or 15 people, and now we have some contractors, whatever. And so I don't even know how many people work at the software company anymore. And anyway, so part of building that software for customers is you have these really long dev cycles, right? Where you're just building the thing, and there's all this behind the scenes work where we're trying to, design database diagrams, and we're working with their team in order to import their millions of rows of data and show it on the mobile devices and all this stuff. There's all this work that goes into it, but the client can't really see anything, right? So what we instituted was weekly updates where we would meet with them either in person or by phone, and we would just give them really honest updates. And I gotta say, in the business world, nobody gives honest updates. If you've had a crap week and you're 7 days behind, nobody would say we're 7 days behind, from this week. They would just say, oh yeah, I had some tough patches, but we're going along, things are good or whatever and stuff. No, not at my software company. We actually tell you the truth. We say, this was a garbage week. We started on schedule, and now at the end of the week, we're 7 days behind. But don't freak out, because we're going to try and make that up, and these are the things we're going to do and stuff. So, how are we doing this week? Nick, how are you doing on the stuff you were scheduled on this week?
Good, we're on track.
That's great. And I'm not, because I underestimated the economy simulation stuff. I actually thought, looking at the schedule, I actually thought that I had 5 days in order to do it, but I had only estimated 4 days, and so that actually jumped up and surprised me, which is ironic because I'm the one who put the schedule together. So I didn't even read my own schedule, even though it's right in front of my face, right up there on the wall. Anyway, so I am 1 day behind, but that's okay. I'm going to make that up, and actually made it a few extra features this week, so maybe some people will forgive me for being 1 day behind. But anyways, that's where we stand right now. The thing that I was working on this week was the simulation of the economy. And we had put out our build earlier in January, and we had said, hey, we had to put out some of the economy stuff. We didn't really want to. It's not finished. We still have more to go. And so that's what I've been working on this week. And the big and important feature of that is how people move around behind the scenes, the goods. So there's what we call AI traders, or just traders. And they have little caravans that go around moving from town to town and making trades. And that's really important to the economy. And so in order to do the research for that, I have this really cool thing from Expeditious Press. It's a D20 supplement that I don't think anybody's ever seen before. I don't know how many copies they've sold. Maybe they've only sold 5 copies, and I have one of them. So Magical Society Silk Road. So these guys at Expeditious Press, Retreat Press, they're really cool. They try to take real world history and fantasy roleplay and merge those things together. And they kind of tease out, the what if scenarios. What would it look like if there really was magic in this historical time period? And so I've been reading this, and it's just been really interesting to see how they talk about the real Silk Road. And you can see the various countries that were involved in that, and language barriers and all that kind of stuff. And then they have like tables for the types of caravans you have and the problems you can encounter and all that stuff. So anyways, I'm just reading all this stuff and just getting a real handle on this real crunchy D&D supplement. And then I take all that and apply it to Archmage Rises. And so that's what we're going to show you right now. So let's go and take a look at the game. Okay, so here we are in a world that I've generated, and there are AI traders that work for each one of these cities, right? So we're in Bricklewhite, and Broken Shield is fairly close, and Bricklewhite doesn't have any roads, so that's okay. The trader is going to go to the closest towns that he can reach based on certain values. And so the reason that we had to do these AI traders is because, let's say down here in Swordbreak, they have a blacksmith, okay, and he needs some metal in order to keep the blacksmith making his tools, so that they can sell their tools. Well, if they can't go past Broken Shield, and Broken Shield doesn't make metal, then this blacksmith in Swordbreak is simply going to go to business because he never has any raw materials. So we need AI traders to go and look all around in a certain geographical area and see, hey, where can I make some trades? Where can I get the goods that are needed? And so based on the size of the city, we'll determine a pool of traders, and they will go and venture out and try to buy the things that city needs. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because the path that they take along the road will determine maybe they don't make it. And maybe they don't make it because there's actual problems behind the scenes, like there's goblins there or bandits or something like that. Things that the player can interact with as well affect these NPCs that are being simulated in the background. And so these traders are going to go out and find that stuff. And if they do, then they make the trade and the goods are sold, and the economies of both of those towns goes up. If they can't make the trade, then the economy goes down. And so by looking at the points value of the economies to these towns, you'll be able to assess, like, is this place like a ghost town, or is this place like hopping and doing well? And when the player comes and does trades, it also affects the economy. So you have a direct impact on the economies of these towns. So there are ways that you can see all this stuff happening, because it's all happening for real. So are you ready to see it, Nick?
Oh yeah, I've already seen it, but I'd like to see it again.
That's right. So we have AI traders that are spawning from these particular places, and so they go out and they do their stuff. Now, sometimes when they're traveling along, something bad can happen to them, and that's the part that you can see, is when something bad happens to them. Okay, so what we found out through my cool developer tools is that Wolfton had a problem. He was on his way from Wolfton. Okay, I'll just move my map over there. It's pretty far. Okay.
That's a long trek. Hopefully he's still alive.
Yeah. Okay, so the AI trader has gone from Wolfton to Queenstown. He was trying to make a trade, but something bad happened to him. And the way that we can find that out is we go into Wolfton, and we can go to the inn. And in the inn is a place to get local news. And there's a whole news system behind the scenes there. And right now we can see that 2 weeks ago, Albin Scarborough was severely injured traveling to Queenstown to trade. So I wonder what happened to him. So let's go and see what happened. Now, where would he be? Well, he's healing up because he got injured. So we're going to go to the healer. And so this is one of the new features, is that you can now meet with the people, the patrons, the guests, the customers of all these different buildings. So this is a new feature we've put in, is that NPCs are now moving around inside the town, going from building to building, and that allows you to track them down. So we know this guy's healing here. So we're going to go in, we're going to talk to Albin. And now I click on Albin, and we haven't built the conversation system yet. But we can just imagine that the conversation system's there, and we can ask him, hey, what happened to you? And if he says something like, man, there are these bandits and they took me down, then that is kind of like a quest, right? It's like telling you about this problem. So you can discover that yourself through your own sleuthing through the data, through the information that's available to you about what's going on in the world. Okay, now here's something else that's interesting. So we're going to leave there, and we're going to fast forward through time. And because I have developer tools, I'm like God. I can just make time go really fast. Okay, so now some time has gone by, and either this elven guy is going to get better, or he's going to die. And there's a different person here. So Elvin's not here. And because I programmed it to be so right now, just for demonstration purposes, Elvin died of his injuries. So one way we can find that out is we go to the inn, we say, oh no, Elvin passed away from wounds sustained traveling to Queenstown to trade. So that could tell us, it's probably not safe to go to Queenstown. But there's another way to see that. We can go to the graveyard, and the graveyard is a place where you can go to services for funerals of the NPCs. You can see who's died recently. You can visit the gravestones, find out what happened to them. So we can go and view the recent dead, and there's Elvin. And he was only 28, Nick, and he died from his wounds trading. Okay, so what happened there is now the trader is gone, and that's going to affect the economy of this place. Like, they need to hire another trader. There has to be another citizen that's willing to, step up and become a trader. And the population of this town actually went down. So, you're not going to notice it because 2,800 people live here, but it did actually go down by 1. And so another example of the graveyard is like if you go and you fight some town guards and you kill them, they're in the graveyard. Like, everything is connected. Okay, so this trader is gone. And as time passes, there's going to be this economic pressure that we need more traders. We got to get more of these goods coming in. I see here that we have a brewer, so he's going to need grain, and a tailor, so he's going to need textiles. So that creates economic pressure. We need to get these goods, and another trader will be recruited from the population, and then they will go out and start doing these things. And so if there's like a problem that remains, then you're going to lose trader after trader after trader until nobody wants to be a trader anymore. It's just too darn dangerous and stuff, right? And those are the kind of quests that are dynamically generated by the simulation for you to go and have an impact on the world. So we got all that in this week, and the graveyard feature wasn't really supposed to be part of it, but I thought it was cool, so I put that in too. So that's one of the reasons that I'm behind.
And once we get the problem systems in too, if there's a plague or something, you might notice the graveyard's filling up really fast, and that might be a clue. So the idea is that you can kind of investigate these problems and sort of find out what's going on by seeing what's happening in the area.
Yeah, Archmage Rises is different, where you don't just go to the guy with the exclamation mark above his head.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we're trying to put in as many views into the simulation as possible that makes sense for you to be able to discover your own information and uncover quests and plots and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so moving on to the next thing that we've done. Nick, you were working really hard on the trading interface, and we got this fancy new interface over here. And over here we have a list of the products that are for sale. We used to be showing that just with some text up here. That was a placeholder. But now you can see these are the products that they have, that they are buying. Okay, so these are ones that are needed. And then down below are the products that they sell.
Oh, this place is full of goods.
Pardon?
This place is full of goods.
Yeah, well, they need a lot of goods, right? Because I'm in a really big city, right? If I went to a village, we'd get a much shorter list. So it tells you what the goods are and how much stock they have. And so the stock tells you that they are buying potions and they're low on potions. And so the reason this is green or almost totally green is because that's really good for you, right? They're paying 141 for that. That's a really high price for that because they're low on it. And so we sort this information so that the thing they most need is at the top, and then the items that they still want them, but they have a lot of them already and they're not going to give you a great price on, are down below. And so you can just look at the color coding in order to make your decisions about what you're going to trade on. And so I'm going to sell probably some potions, right? Because they're really in need of potions. So let's sell them some potions. So once I click on the potions, then it pops up and says, okay, let's make a deal for potions. And so we were going to put in like the transfer window, which has like a slider for selecting like the quantity, but I was actually waiting on that and just kind of threw this together, and I think it works pretty well. So you just pick 1, 5, 10, 25, 100 in order to do those kind of bulk moves, or as many as I can, which automatically calculates how many you have, which is, in this case I have 10, so I just say, okay, fine, as many as I can, 10. And then what happens is we're putting together a deal here. So the idea is like, okay, you're going to buy them for 141 a thing, and I'm going to sell you as many as I have. Now let's figure this thing out. So it's total of 1410. Will I accept this deal? Now I have there's skills in the background, and we could do a skill check for negotiating. And there's currently two ways of negotiating soft or negotiating hard. So negotiating soft is just like, hey, can you do any better on that? My children, I have 9 children and they're starving and that kind of thing, and see if we can do any better. Negotiate hard is when you're being really kind of pushy about it. You can get a bigger win, but you're also pushing your luck in doing that, and it can really negatively affect the relationship. And so I'm going to, you can see I can do 1 and 1. And we haven't exactly determined what controls how many negotiations you can do, but the idea is that you only have so many negotiations you could do in a month, or you collect them or something like that. And so you decide, this is really worth it to use negotiation here rather than somewhere else. And so I am going to negotiate. I'm going to negotiate hard on this one. And now we have our die roll, and we're trying to persuade, and I got a 2. Oh, that was real bad. And it affected our relationship. So I had a good first impression. Now the relationship's gone down because I was such a jerk in the negotiation. And so now she is saying, you're just a big jerk. And now I'm going to press my special key and insult her some more. And now I've insulted her a whole bunch. There's still not an option in order to do that. But so now, if I just restart this deal, because I was using a hotkey, it doesn't refresh the screen. So anyway, I'm just going to start this deal again, as many as I can, and we can see she's actually paying us less because I ticked her off so bad. She doesn't like us, so the relationship has actually made it worse. So that's pretty bad. So I'm going to try and negotiate something up on that. Let's see what we get. And I failed again. That made the relationship even worse. Affecting our price, so let's try and negotiate this. Yay! Success! And so we can see both through our skills, the bonus that we're receiving, but the relationship is kind of the permanent side. So you build up these relationships with these traders over time, and so when you're negotiating, you're kind of risking that permanent buff. In this case, it's a negative one. I'm not risking anything. It can only get worse. And the negotiation is just like a one-time deal here. I can also reverse it, and she'll give me a better price by me just making her all happy. Let's just throw some dice at the screen, and I can do another negotiation. Look at that! I got a success. Okay. And so because my relationship is good, I get plus 15% on the value and an extra 25% because I negotiated hard on that. And so now we got that from 1,400 up to 1,900. That's pretty darn good. So I'm going to agree to that particular trade. And so now that we've done that deal, that's when the economy kind of recalculates. Okay, now how many do we have, and what's the new buying price and all that. And so we can see with the potions dropped as far as what they're willing to pay for it. Also dropped in the list because now that they bought 10 potions for us, they don't need that as much. And so this idea of like striking one single deal allows you to get like a really good buy or a really good sell. Whereas before we were doing it one by one and it wasn't as good. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes with making all that work, and we think that you're going to like the new trading deal, the whole concept of the deal. I think it's good. You'll see the idea of deals and negotiations showing up in other places, dealing with nobles and trying to make other negotiated deals in other places. So we just started with it here. Okay, so fan feedback. So the first fan feedback that we're going to talk about is, so last week we announced when we think we're going to be feature complete, and 2 people on Steam just commented on that. Stormbringer GT says, as someone who works in game development with a team of people, I don't know how you guys managed what you've accomplished. I think he means that in a positive way, right? He's not like making fun of us, like, look at how little you've done.
No, I know Stormbringer. It's cool.
Yeah, so thanks for that. That's very nice. And Figment, he says, basically, I was saying on the Steam update that the only way that I know how to make the release date sooner is just to cut features. But I don't want to cut features. There's a very specific set of features that I promised, and I want to give you the best game that I know how. And so this is the release date. And so Figment says, hey, take your time. I'd rather have an awesome game in a year or two than a mediocre game right now. Definitely looking forward to it. And that's totally right, Figment. That is what I would say is the difference between independent and AAA is I don't have any quarters that I have to hit. I mean, I have a wife who is like, when's that game going to be done? When are we going to start seeing some money coming from it? But other than that, we can build the game that we set out to make, and that's very exciting. Okay, next we want to talk about Mike Ponage, and he left us some very nice feedback about the economy. And his first question was like, hey, I kind of wrote a lot, and is this really the right place? And the answer is yes, you totally nailed it. That's the right place in order to do that. There was a post about the economy, and he wrote a whole bunch of stuff. And so he has a whole bunch of ideas in there that I won't go into all of them, but basically he's saying, hey, that's great, but that you're going to have this kind of real world economy that's simulating the background and such. And you have these draft animals that control how much you're able to haul around, just like, the real world caravans and stuff. But where's like the magic fantasy side? And, are there spells I can cast, like levitation? Are there fantastical beasts that I can get? Maybe I can summon things. And the answer to that is yes. We haven't got to that yet. We just built the system kind of with real world stuff, and then we're going to add in the fantasy part to that too. So he's got some great ideas about making your own carts and making them levitate and stuff, and those are great ideas. So thanks so much for that. We are thinking about everything that you wrote, and hopefully you'll see the fruit of that soon. So I want to thank for everybody for being on the forums and the stuff that they say. And I think that's going to be a wrap for this week's update. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, except for I remember one thing that we added that we didn't mention, and I think it's pretty cool, and that is the idea that the towns are actually mining the hexes around it to decide what available resources they have, which I think is really important because you sent this picture last week where there was this place in the middle of the desert, and they didn't really have anything, but they had a bunch of trading. And what did they have? They had a slaver and stuff like that. So I think that's really helping to really. It's not just the economy is not just something for traders. It's also helping to build the world so it feels real.
Exactly. That's the reason that we went down this path was how do we make a procedurally generated world that feels real? And the answer is make it simulate in the background, and then it'll just feel real. And so, it was kind of funny that because if you have like a forest, then that allows for a woodcutter. If you have grasslands, that allows for pastures and stuff. So there was this town in the middle of the desert that didn't have anything. And so their whole economy was based on services like a seedy inn and slavery and stuff. Basically, the map generator created a Las Vegas in the middle of the desert. That's basically what it did. Exactly. And we were both kind of in shock. We're like, oh, but that actually makes a lot of sense. Like, what else could they do, right? So that was pretty cool. Okay, so that about wraps it up, and we will see you all next week with another honest update on Archmage Rises, the greatest role-playing game ever made.
Bye.
Bye.